this video is all about desserts. But the beautiful thing about this is no guilt desserts. One of the things my patients frequently ask me is, do I have to give up desserts? And they've got that look like, oh my God, that's the worst thing I could possibly think of, whether they have issues with weight loss or they are struggling with cancer. And so of course we always want to have a treat, but what we want is a treat that actually isn't going to decrease our state of well-being. We want it to enhance, not just for the mental pleasure of satisfying our emotional needs, which is very, very important. I tell patients oftentimes it's better to have a little, indulge, enjoy, be in the festive merriment than try to resist and be upset and get angry and have cortisol, soaring through their system, because our immune system is very responsive to your emotions. So oftentimes people will be craving certain foods based upon their emotional state. So I always tell people, check in with yourself when you're reaching for something that's in the cupboard, which is usually a cookie or a cracker or things that are prepackaged. Ask yourself, am I really hungry? And if I am really hungry, then go to the refrigerator, not the freezer, but the refrigerator, and make yourself something out of that. Now today what we're going to do is just that. We're going to use foods that are fresh but make some fabulous desserts. Who doesn't like ice cream? I mean, seriously, that's everybody's passion because it's got all those endorphins in regards to the texture, the cool, the soft, and oftentimes one of the things that we get very attached to is the casein morphine that is in the milk. Well, we're not going to use milk at all. This is completely, well, actually, we're going to use some cream, so it's not completely dairy-free. But if you want it to be dairy-free on one of the desserts that I am making, well, actually on both, you can completely use the coconut cream, and I will give you suggestions at that time. But very low sugar, it's going to be low carbohydrate. It kind of leans on a ketogenic, so we're going to have a lot of fun with this today. We're going to start off by making the keto ice cream. Now again, it's going to be a soft serve, and I tell patients you can just stick it in the freezer for just a couple of minutes, like maybe 10 minutes at the most, but you don't want it to freeze because you want it to be that creamy texture. But while you're preparing other things, if you stick it in the freezer just for a second, it gets a nice little glaze hardness over it, which is really nice. And then we're going to do what is very traditional to us as far as the Mexican culture, is a dish that we call a fresa. And it's really a strawberry type / creamed mousse. My mother used to use carnation milk. Today we're going to use some coconut cream, and I'm going to actually fold in some whipped cream into it as well. But it's fantastic. So these are desserts that on a whim, you're just kind of really feeling like you want a little something, but you don't really want to go outside of the protocol that you're trying to stick to in terms of a healthy diet. So we're going to do that as well. So we're doing the fresa for my mother in celebration of Cinco de Mayo. Everybody thinks Cinco de Mayo is all about Independence Day, but actually it's not at all. It's about the victory that was won in Mexico with the French in the Pueblo, and so we celebrate that victory. And actually Independence Day is somewhere around September 16th, so that's a little bit different. So of course I'm going to enjoy Cinco de Mayo tonight and go and have a great time, but we're going to start off with desserts. So let's go ahead and start off with making the keto ice cream. Now I'm going to use coconut. I'm going to use a lot of different things here. These are all things that you should already have in your cupboard if you're following along with the keto program. Protein powder, this is chocolate protein powder. This is a plant-based chocolate protein powder. And honestly, you really don't even need to add any kind of sweetener to this, because this is going to have approximately about 6 carbohydrates, and it does have a little bit of sweetness to it already, so that can be your option. I'm also going to use cacao nibs, which I absolutely love. For me, I'm all about crunch. So when I'm doing an ice cream, I kind of want to get that sensation of what kind of an ice cream with some walnuts or something of that nature. I used to love, what was it that I loved? The chocolate with the pistachios and the marshmallows in there, but we're not doing any marshmallows today. Then we're going to add raw cacao powder as well. And again, this is a staple. I love this because again, it's high fiber, so there's no carbohydrates at all. In fact, the cacao nibs are very high fiber, and there's no carbohydrates in this at all. This one actually yields about 4 tablespoons per 4 carbs per tablespoon. So there is a little bit in the powder, but none in the cacao nibs. So I love that. And then we're going to toast some coconut. So I've already got it toasted, but I want to show you how quickly and easy it is. But you have to be really careful when you toast this and keep a really a good eye on it, because since it does have oil, when you put it underneath the broiler, it'll get dark very, very quickly. So honestly, at the most, maybe 1 minute. So you're gonna wanna put your timer on and check it somewhere in the halfway 30-second mark, and then have a look at that. So we'll do that in just a second where I can pay attention to it, because we do not want it to burn. And then I've got some chopped up walnuts that I just put into the Cuisinart, and I just made them nice and fine. You can use any kind of nut. I like using pecans just as well. Between the pecans and the walnuts, I like using them as a mix too. I don't really add almonds or do any other nut when I do this particular dish. Okay, so let's start out. We're gonna start out by putting some ice in the blender. So I'm gonna grab that out of the freezer because I did not get that. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab that now. So we've got approximately about a cup of ice here, and I'm going to add a little bit of coconut cream just so that we can get that, because we're going to blend this in the Vitamix, and you need to have a very high-powered blender. It doesn't work so good in the Cuisinart, so this works out really nice. I'm going to put approximately, start out with 1/4 of a cup, because we don't want it to be too soft. We want it to be like an ice cream. We don't want it to be like a smoothie. So I'm going to go ahead and start that. I am going to go ahead and just give this a little whirl. And so, because oftentimes what will happen is if you don't get this completely blended, when you're reaching in to get your scoops of ice cream, you might come across a ice cube that hasn't been fully crushed. So let's go ahead and start it out like that. Beautiful. So it's almost like if you were making a snow cone here. So that is really nice. So we're going to go with that. Make sure that it's all blended nicely. You want to use just a little bit of a spatula here to get it all together. All right. Now I'm going to add 2 scoops of chocolate protein powder, and again I said it's plant-based, so that's about 21 grams of protein. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of, this actually is a mixture of walnuts and pecans. Didn't have enough walnuts, so I thought I'd use pecans, so that's 2 tablespoons. I'm going to go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of the raw cacao nibs, because I'm going to add some on top. And you can see that it's a heaping tablespoon. It's not, you know, right to the edge. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons, and these are heaping as well, of raw cacao. I'm just going to go ahead and add the whole thing, just 2 tablespoons. Okay. Now let's give this a little bit of whirl. I'm going to add just a little teeny bit on top, just so that it really blends nicely. And if you have to add more, then you can add it as you go. Don't put too much in. As I said, you don't want it to be a smoothie that you drink. You want it to be nice and creamy, something that you can scoop up with. Give your brain all the sensations that it's looking for ice cream. And like I said, who doesn't love ice cream? And especially chocolate. It appeals to the endorphins in the brain. So it's very, very happy food. So I'm just starting out a little slow just to mix it all up together. Let's go ahead and have a look at it. So I can kind of already tell here, I can taste it. It tastes fantastic. But I think I want to just break it up a little bit more, because I can still crunch a little bit of the ice. When I look at it, and I'm looking at the texture of it, it looks fantastic. So I'm going to just keep working with it. It's almost like, really almost fudgy-like. So I'm going to go ahead and give that another whirl. I'll probably add just a teeny bit more, not much, a little bit more of coconut milk in there. Just a little, not much, just to get it so that it blends up those ice cubes really easily and doesn't put too much stress on my Vitamix. These Vitamixes are so awesome. It takes everything and pulverizes it so beautifully. Just fantastic. Okay. I think we got it there. And this should serve too. I mean, it won't be like a huge serving, but all we're looking for is just that wonderful satiation of the cream, the cold, the taste, and you'd be surprised how satiated you are because it does have that protein powder of food. So your body doesn't say, oh, I need another half a cup, I need this, I need that. So that looks pretty darn awesome. Let me have a look at it here. That looks great. I think Landy's gonna absolutely love this dish. She's my professional taster here, so I think that's gonna be her specialty here, is ice cream. All right, let's go ahead and put it in some fancy little glasses, make it look pretty. Everybody likes pretty. I'm very into the aesthetics of food because I feel that that's part of the whole sensation of satiety is sight. When you look at something, it stimulates, oh my gosh, I want that, right? But if it doesn't look so good, it's not such a stimulating sight. So this makes it really nice and very sensational, because that's what we are all about, is creating sensation not only in the way it tastes but also in the way it looks.
Oh God, it looks like fudge ice cream.
Oh my God, it's so unbelievable. My husband, I was talking about, well, what should I do? You know, we're gonna go out to celebrate Cinco de Mayo and we're gonna have all this wonderful food and festive. And I said, you know what, I think I'm gonna make desserts, because so many of my patients, especially this week, interestingly enough, have been asking me, isn't there any low carb dessert I could have? And this was one of the recipes that I gave one of my patients, and they were so pleased. So now I'm gonna be able to tell them to go and watch this video. They'll see how absolutely easy it is, and they don't have to give up their favorite treat, which is ice cream. Now you wanna get every bit of it out here, so make sure you kind of dig for it, because it is thick. It's almost kind of like a little fudge, and this is exactly the consistency you want it. You don't want to have it any thinner than this, because you're trying to really go for that nice texture that ice cream has. You know, oftentimes when you go to the yogurt, so often those machines, not only are they not working all the time, but they serve like a soft serve. So this is like your kind of imitation of that would be your frozen yogurt. Absolutely. I want to get every bit of this out of this. The other day we made it because my husband said, oh my gosh, I forgot completely all about that. I could be having this the whole time on my diet. And it was funny, I made it for him. And all you could hear was the clicking of the spoon to the cup, and it was empty. And I was like, okay, I think he's trying to get absolutely every little bit out. So that is what you're going to do as well. All right, we're going to leave it just like that. Those look fabulous. Okay, I'm going to stick these in the freezer while we make the strawberry fresa. Like I said, I don't really think you should freeze it, but to put it in there for 15 to 20 minutes before you're going to serve this to the guests are just fine. We're going to go ahead and make that coconut now, but it's really delicate, so I want to make sure you realize that you've got to keep your eye on this, okay? We're just going to take about approximately a cup of coconut flakes. Now these are unsweetened coconut flakes, so just kind of give them a little shake. Now I love having coconut flakes around because I can use this for so many things. And once I make this, I just keep it in a nice little jar with a lid on it. It lasts really good for a week to 2 weeks, and I'll put it on things if I want to make like a little trail mix, and then I can use it for that. but they come in handy, all of these things. So to have some of this around to make a chia porridge in the morning is always great. We love crunch. Our body really is looking for that crunch sensation. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these in the broiler. We'll keep our eye on them thoroughly. Landy, to make sure that we don't go over our 1 minute mark. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with this. Oh, I was just thinking to myself, I forgot. I love it when I forget things. Let's start by blending up this really nice strawberries here. So again, you can use the Cuisinart. A lot of times I just use my Vitamix as well, but since it's messy, we're not going to use it. I'm going to go check on those, on the coconut. Oh, not yet. I should put my little timer on. So this was exactly 3 cups of strawberries. This should feed 3 or 4. I'm going to put some coconut cream in there. So we're going to put a couple of big dollops, about a half a cup. I'm going to check my coconut. So you can see how quickly, if you don't keep your eye on it, it gets a little brown. That's perfect enough. It'll be nice and crispy. I already did some earlier, but you gotta keep your eye on this, really less than a minute. So you gotta keep your attention. I set a timer, and that way I don't burn it. Believe me, I have burnt it 100 times. So that's perfectly fine. We're gonna leave it just like that to cool down. Okay, let's go ahead and give this a whirl. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little taste. And now oftentimes when the strawberries are in season, they're going to be really nice and sweet. But oftentimes, since we get strawberries almost all year round from Mexico or places like that, they're not that sweet. So if you need to add a little sweet, you can add a little drop of stevia, or I'm going to add just a little teeny bit of swerve. Let's have a taste of it. I'm going to add just a tad of swerve. About a teaspoon. Not much, we don't need much. Where's my lid here? And then of course, you know, when you put it in the Cuisinart, it gets just a little, it doesn't have quite the texture that it does with the Cuisinart, but it's still fantastic. Perfect sweetness. That was just a teaspoon of swerve, which is an alcohol sugar, so the impact is somewhere around 2 carbohydrates, so that works out really nicely. I'm going to give that one more little swirl, and I think we're ready to go with it. Okay, excellent. Now I'm going to go ahead and put it in this bowl. We don't need any of these things anymore. That maybe. Go ahead and put it in here. So if you didn't want to add cream, you could just go ahead and serve it like this, but I'm going to add some cream because I want it to be very moussey-like. So I've just basically whipped this whipping cream. I've added a teeny bit of swerve, which is the erythritol sugar, and just a teeny bit of vanilla. I made it almost not as fluffy as cream because I want it to be that little thicker texture since I'm mixing it in with the liquid. So let's just go ahead and add that in. Oh, don't miss that. Let's just fold it in. You don't want to over to stir this. You just want to fold it in nicely. There you go, beautiful. Awesome. So, you know, again, I had patients who SOS call me and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I ate ice cream, I did this, I did that. So now you can just refer to this beautiful recipe and make yourself something that is actually healthy. The strawberries got antioxidants, there's no glucose in here to say as far as high sugar. The impact of this is probably with the strawberries somewhere around 10 to 11 carbohydrates per serving. So I think that's pretty darn low. Let's have a taste of this. This looks so good. Yes, yes, yes. Love it. Okay, let's go ahead and make these beautiful things. Now, of course, you can do however sweet you like to do it. I don't really like it that sweet, but it's enough sweet that just kind of, you know, lays down the palate of a dessert, but not so much that, you know, it throws you back. And when you've been off of sugar, honestly, even a grape tastes like sugar and sweet. So once your palate becomes alive to all of these foods again, you don't need nearly the amount of salt or sugar that one uses to try to cover up food that potentially is dead oftentimes. So let's go ahead and put that in there. Look at that, gorgeous. Now, who is not going to be happy with that? So those are pretty big. You know, you could definitely do 4 on this if these were a little bit smaller, but we're going to keep it just like that. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and add a little of the final touches on these things. I'm going to pull that ice cream out now, and we'll add some final touches on it, and you will have a fabulous dessert. Now, as you see that I stuck it in the freezer and just kind of gave it just a nice little texture on there. It's not frozen, but again, I can tip it upside down and it stays really nice. Now, if I didn't stick it in the freezer, it would not. If I would do that, it would dump out. So it's good to stick it in for probably about, you know, a minimum of 5 minutes, but 10 minutes is probably a good idea. You don't want to freeze it. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's add our final touches on these. So let's get a little dollop of whipping cream. And you know, this can, not only does it look like chocolate ice cream, it looks like chocolate mousse. So wow, who doesn't find that appealing? I certainly do. So I whipped about approximately 1 cup of whipping cream for both of these desserts here. And you can see this one's running a little short, so that would be what you want. Okay, so now on both of these, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of coconut shavings on there, just to make it beautiful and fun and give it a little crunch. So it's got all the sensation. You've got the creaminess, you've got the crunch of it, and your brain is going to light up like it is on fire with happiness. And it's so important because happiness is what really increases our immune system and supports us in fighting off infections and disease. So we want to make sure that we add little things into our diet in an Ayurvedic fashion, the sweet, the pungent, the salt, the sour, so that all of our brain is enhanced by so many of the flavors that we feel very satisfied. We don't need to eat as much as we normally would eat. I'm going to go ahead and put coconut on this as well, and that's lovely since this has got a beautiful, nice coconut milk to it. It'll be beautiful. And then for a little added bonus, a little bit of raw cacao nibs on there. Gorgeous. Look at that. So there you have it. Absolutely extraordinary desserts in a flash. So you don't need to go to the freezer. You don't need to pull out ice cream that you know a half a cup is 30 grams of carbohydrates. Now you've got a really low carb meal that you don't need, the low carb dessert that you don't need to feel guilty about. Like, for example, something like this, you know, when I'm really kind of jonesing for something, I might even eat this for lunch. Really, it's a protein shake, but frozen. And a lot of times I don't like eating desserts after meals just because sometimes, like, say, the fruit isn't a very good food combination with animal protein. So I like having these things mid-afternoon or even sometimes in the morning where you have the least amount of impact of insulin and you utilize it very well. So Landy, I'm going to invite you over here and I'm going to let you be my tester and tell me what you think about it. In fact, I think I'll throw a little bit of nuts just for fun on that too.
I can't tell you how excited I am about this.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. You're gonna absolutely love it. So let's start you out with the strawberry.
Okay. We're going in.
Oh, I went in.
I love this. I love the martini glasses.
Later on, this is going to be a martini.
Cheers.
Martini. I mean, a margarita glass.
Yeah.
So.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yes. Let's have a taste.
Mmm. And that's just the strawberries and whipped cream.
Strawberries, coconut cream, and just a dollop of whipped cream, and then the whipped cream that was folded into it. Isn't that nice?
It's amazing. It is.
Okay, now I gotta have you try this. Extra amazing. Your husband's gonna die over this.
I know he will, because he loves any dessert anyway. So anything that you know what, he'll be so thrilled to have something I'm not going to give him the look for.
Yeah.
How much of that are you having?
Okay, guys, you shouldn't be eating that. That's not on your diet.
You don't eat any of that.
Is that good?
That tastes like chocolate mousse.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely, Molly. Definitely.
So
oh my God.
Awesome.
And the texture, you're right. It's just like ice cream.
Who wouldn't be satisfied? There you have it.
Now that I know it's a protein, it's my favorite new lunch.
2 fabulous desserts that are guilt-free.
Awesome.
And have a wonderful Cinco de Mayo. If you're out there, be careful, be responsible, enjoy yourself. We're going to go hear mariachi tonight. Have a great time. And don't forget to share this with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe to the Facebook channel so that we can send you We're on live. Have a great, great weekend, and I'll see you next week.